This evening, a magistrate court in Ho has declined jurisdiction over a treason case involving 3 persons who are seeking to break away from Ghana to form an independent state. The presiding magistrate indicated the lack of jurisdiction over a treasonable offense as the reason.
The 93-year-old Charles Kumi Kujoji, 65-year-old Divine Odonko, and Martin Asienu Agbenu, 57, founders of Homeland Study Group Foundation, are seeking to declare the entire Volta region, Northern and Upper East regions as an independent country on May 9 this year. The state, to be named Western Togoland State, would be a breakaway from Ghana. The police in the Volta region have sent a strong signal by arresting and charging all 3 leaders of the group for treason, but members of the group insist Ghana must reconsider a plebiscite that decided the fate of the Transvolta Togoland about 6 decades ago. However, a court in Ho has declared its inability to continue with the case as it lacks the jurisdiction over the matter, suggesting the state should proceed to a higher court. When found guilty, all 3 members of the group stand to face a death penalty. During the decolonization of Africa, a plebiscite was organized in British Togoland in May 1956 to decide the future of the territory. Majority of voters taking part voted to merge with the territory of neighboring Gold Coast, which later became Ghana.
All right, so Natalie, this is history, and it's something that we need to go back into right from the Second World War days, from 1956 thereabout till now.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not a new situation. It's not something new. It's been happening, but it is pretty interesting. You know, its development would really affect the nation in total. So take us through.
Sure. I'll just run you through this. And you need to stay closely with me as we follow through, because this borders on history. And it's been going on for quite a while. I'll just give you a historical background of the 1956 Transvolta Togoland plebiscite. That's what you see on your screens right now. What we mean is this. From this particular area, as you can see on your screens, is exactly where the British Togoland mandated territory spans through. And this particular group is talking about the fact that it goes through the part of the northern region, through the Upper East region and the Volta regions to the Gulf of Guinea. All those areas, and the lines that you see me draw right there is where exactly the territory of this whole British Togoland plebiscite does actually lie. As we speak at the moment, they are making that particular claim that they, according to the United Nations at the time in 1956, this date way back in May 9th, 1956, the people of the Transvolta Togoland at the time went to the polls to decide their future with the union with the then Gold Coast. And what they did really vote on, and I'll just walk you through it very quickly, just for historical background of what the 1956 Transvolta Togoland plebiscite is all about. Wednesday, May 9th, 1956, people of the Transvolta Togoland went to the polls to decide the future of the British Togoland. That's the plebiscite that I actually did show you earlier on. And the territory, that's the territorial boundaries of this particular Transvolta issue that we're talking about. The election results as at 1956 is what you see on your screens right now. This is it. The district, Mamprushi, Dagomba, Gonja, Buem Krachi, and Pandu, and then Ho. All these are the districts whose indigenes voted whether or not to stay with the Gold Coast or break away and form a country on its own. So the number of the votes cast for the union and the separation, at the end, the union had 58%. And the separatist group who were pushing for a separate country out of the Transvolta territory had 42%. That's about 67,492, as against the 93,093 at the time. And this was way back in 1956. And stay with me closely, because that is not the end of this thing that happened, because there was a historical background of it going into exactly what Parliament talked about at the time. The new Parliament of Ghana, after independence, adopted the UN resolution to merge and integrate the Transvolta Togoland with Ghana, which was then given the name Volta region. So that's how come this particular name given to that region, talking about the voter region, did come about, because of that reflection of the election results resulting in that particular decision that was taken. So that decision that we're talking about was actually not taken in isolation. There was a vote that led to the conclusion of that particular decision, that 194,230 people were registered and 160,597 thereabout voted, representing about 90.95%. That's about 58% of voted for the union with the Gold Coast, while the 42% thereabout also voted for the separation. Now, these three groups who have been on this particular issue for the past decade or so over have actually been pushing for this particular case to be relooked at again. The reason being that they believe that they still have a case to hold on to, because if you look at the boundaries as they speak, they are complaining and picking up the argument that this particular line, as you see me draw right there, is where they fall into. But I just want you to know this very quickly, because there is an issue that's coming up with all of this. And now, at the moment, the magistrate court has indicated that they do not have jurisdiction to hear this particular case. We'll hear from the police what next they intend to do with this, because there are those who have put up the argument that the group says that they are going to the United Nations to even petition the UN on this. But then the question is whether the United Nations can give an order to a sovereign state like Ghana to succumb
to
the
if the United Nations has that
group.
mandate or has the ability to do so.
Let's go to the Ashanti region. William Evans Sinkum has been speaking to one of the members of this three-member group to find out exactly what they intend to do.
So we are speaking to Mr. Francis A. Kofi. Mind you, results from the May 9, 1956 plebiscite showed a majority, 58%, voted for union with the Gold Coast. Now, are you aware that the area you are calling Western Togoland is not only limited to the Eves? But listen, we have the Yendi, Bimbila, and generally we have the Dagomba land and Chamberland. Have you consulted them?
Yes, of course. I requested from our people back home that those people fighting for independence now, or the split from Ghana now, what happened was that they consulted them. They visited them not once, not twice, not thrice.
And what views emerged from those consultations?
Yes, they also agreed. That's what the information we had. They agreed.
It's information you have, or it's a fact you have, a concrete fact that you have, for that matter, you can present?
Yeah, that is information that I had from them.
What is the actual motive behind the agitation for secession, given that this kind of agitation could not succeed in the 1950s? Why do you think it is relevant now, 61 years after the plebiscite?
Yes, there's a documentation that shows that the plebiscite, when we requested, that is what they told us, that after 50 years, they can decide they still want to be part with Ghana, or you want to be on your own. And now it's 60 years.
So we have been speaking to Mr. Francis A. Kofi, a youth member of the Votarians who are actually asking for secession. My name is William Evans Sinkum.